everyone! Thank you for joining me today on our second class. Today I would like to introduce you to a very good recipe for a cake that many people are so afraid of. And today I'm talking about the meringue. Meringue is very delicious and some kind of a posh cake, but many people are so afraid to make it. I'm not surprised, it's not the easiest cake to make. It's very unpredictable and very often it fails. But don't worry, today I will give you my recipe and I will give you a few tips, and when you use them you can be sure that every meringue you bake is gonna be just perfect. First, I'm gonna tell you a little bit about the ingredients. Meringue needs only two things: sugar and egg whites. Let's talk about the sugar. When I'm baking a meringue, I'm using a sugar which is finer than normal crystals, but not as fine as icing sugar. This is very important to use this sugar because this will give your meringue the best flavor. Of course, you can bake a meringue by using a brown sugar, and it will always come with a different flavor and absolutely different color. I like to do my meringue by mixing white sugar with a little bit of brown sugar. The second ingredient that we need for meringue are egg whites. And when you are using eggs for meringues, it's very important to remember that you have to use only good eggs. You have to use only eggs that you are sure that they are fresh. If you are not sure if your eggs are fresh, I'll show you a very easy and quick tip to see if your egg is fresh. Just take an egg and put it to the glass which is full of water and see how it behaves. If the egg sinks to the bottom, that means that it's fresh. If it's go in the middle or go to the up, that means that your egg is not fresh enough. Thank you very much. That your egg is not fresh enough and you need to use another one. So this egg is just perfect. Another important thing is the temperature of the eggs. Although some recipes, like for example Italian meringue, specify that eggs needs to be taken straight from the fridge, but some recipes do not specify this, and in the recipe that I'm going to show you, eggs can be in the room temperature. What's the most important, in the recipe for the meringue, we're not going to use the whole egg, but the only egg whites. So you need to separate the egg white from the yolk. When you're using eggs for meringue, it's very important that they are clean but also dry, because we cannot add any water to the egg white. So when you are separating egg whites from the yolk, you have to be very careful. Because for meringue, you cannot let any piece of yolk or any piece of shell go into egg white. If only a small part of yolk or only small part of water goes into egg white that you're gonna be whisking for your meringue, trust me, it's gonna fail. So you have to be very precise and very delicate with making the meringue. So as you see, for meringues, we're gonna be using only egg whites, and in the recipe that I'm gonna show you, we're gonna need 6 of them. Sometimes when you're baking some other cakes, you might need only egg yolks, and then you don't know what to do with the white. This is why you should keep them and use them for the meringue later. What else? It's a very good tip to remember. Remember that you can freeze the egg whites and use them later when you have time to make a meringue. Because meringue is very gentle and quite unpredictable cake, the whole equipment and all environment that you are making it in is very important. So, when it comes to the bowl, the best, although I don't have it today, the best would be metal or glass bowl. The plastic bowl is okay as well, but you have to make sure that it's totally clean and out of any grease. This is why the plastic is not the best if you are not sure if it's clean, but I'm sure this one is totally clean and free of any grease or oil. You have to make sure that there is no water, no oil. If it's only a little bit left, make sure, I can tell you for sure that the meringue will fail. When we have our egg whites ready, the next process of making meringue is whisking them. And this is very important, and before I do it, so you will not be able to hear me well, I'm gonna tell you exactly how to do it. So first of all, when you're gonna have your egg whites, you have to start mixing them with your mixer on not the highest speed, on a slower speed. If you use from the beginning very high speed, later your egg whites will float. This is very important to remember, to whisk your eggs well enough. It has to come to the moment, you will see this later in my video, to the phase of, we call it soft peaks. You will see that when the eggs are beaten enough, the egg white will form like a soft peak of a white, soft at the top and quite gentle at the bottom. Also, I will show you another trick how to check if the egg whites are beaten enough. And this is very important to know when to stop. Because if you whisk your eggs too long, they're gonna be not good. So I will show you this later. And in another stage, I'm also gonna tell you how to add the sugar, because this is also very important. But while making a meringue, the time is also very important. You cannot stop the procedure. So I'm gonna tell you just a few tips before we start, because after I will not be able to say so much. When the eggs are beaten and they prepare a quite stiff, nice foam, then you start adding sugar. And this is very important to add just a spoon by spoon. And every time before you add another spoon, you have to make sure that the first sugar you add is absolutely dissolved. You can always check a meringue in your fingers and see if you can feel any crystals or not. So today I'm gonna show you the recipe for the meringue, which always works, but you have to be careful and follow my guidance very carefully and do not miss any steps. Also, take your time, do not rush. Making a meringue, whisking the egg whites can take up to 10 to 12 minutes, so be patient and don't hurry up. What do we need for this meringue is 300 grams of fine sugar and 6 egg whites. We will also add 2 spoons of brown sugar, 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, and a small pinch of salt. Prepare 6 egg whites. So here is the first one. forms. With our circles on. Now we're gonna start the most important and I think the most difficult part of making a meringue. We have to whisk the egg whites. So here we have the egg whites. We're gonna use a mixer, or as I said before, first we're gonna start on the lower speed and then slowly, when it's a little bit frothy, we're gonna increase the speed till we get a nice form. I will show you exactly how it should look. Although, while you make a meringue, you should not stop mixing. Today I will be stopping a little bit to just show you and tell you the instructions. So let's start beating the eggs. So when the eggs are a little bit frothy, you will add the pinch of salt that we talked about. And you're gonna keep whisking. You have to be very patient. As you can see, these egg whites are perfectly beaten. When you turn this upside down, it doesn't fall. And when you touch it with a beater, it forms a little peaks. You see? A little peaks. This is perfect. At this stage, you have to stop doing it, because if you overdo your eggs, the meringue will float. It will not stay at its shape that we want. So now, while doing the beating more and more, whisking, we're gonna be adding sugar spoon by spoon. and you cannot rush yourself. It has to be done slowly. It can take up to 12 minutes. Make sure that every time you add another spoon of sugar, the previous one is totally melted. If you are not sure, you can always check with your fingers to see if you can feel any crystals. If you can still feel crystals, that means that the sugar is not dissolved enough. We need higher speed. We are slowly going to the end. The meringue mass is very thick. That was our last sugar. As you see, the meringue mass is ready. It's very thick now, it's very sticky, and it's shiny and glossy on the top. I shouldn't stop mixing it, but I wanted to tell you that. And the last step is we'll add this a little bit, it's like 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, and we're gonna mix it again. Okay, so the most difficult step is done. Meringue looks beautiful. Now we need to shape it to the shape that we want. So here we have our 2 circles. We're gonna use half of each of them, and we're gonna try to create a nice shape. And try to form a nice circle. Don't worry, it doesn't have to be perfect. And also remember that if you beaten your eggs good enough, the dough will raise. So your meringue will be much bigger than it is now. This is why, for example, when you are making a sponge cake, you don't need to add any baking powder, because you whisk the eggs enough to make the whole cake grow. The air that is inside the egg whites that we put during the mixing will put the whole meringue up and make it rise. Meringue cannot wait, so when it's ready it has to go straight to the oven. So let me put it now to the oven. And our meringue from our recipe we're gonna bake in the degree of 180 degrees of Celsius for 5 minutes only. 5 minutes. And then I'm gonna show you again what to do. There are many schools about baking meringue. Some recipes are telling more about drying rather than baking in a very low temperature of 70 or 80 degrees for up to 7 to 8 hours. But in this recipe it's a little bit quick up recipe, so we need only half an hour to 1.5 hours up to 2 hours to have perfect meringue. Our 5 minutes is finished. Now we need to make the temperature down to 140 Celsius degrees, and we're gonna leave our meringues in for 1.5 hours, which is 90 minutes. That's too much. That's perfect. And you can see, or you can't, that they are already raising inside a lot. When the baking is finished, do not open and take your meringue out. Just turn the oven off and open the door slightly and let it cool down. The best will be to leave it in the oven for over the night. And now we can start making the cream for our meringue. The recipe I'm showing you today is caramel meringue. Of course you can make other cream, but today I'll show you my favorite one. So for this one we will need 500 grams of mascarpone cheese, around 300 milliliters of double cream, which we're gonna whip, around 400 grams of caramel, about 10 figs, 10 dates, and a glass of almonds, which we're gonna caramelize before we use them. So first we're gonna start with caramelizing these almonds. There is around 1 cup of almonds, and we're gonna put it to the frying pan. We need around half glass of sugar, and 2/3 cup of water. Now we need to mix it well. And when it's mixed well, you have to turn the heat on. Now it's very important to not mix it anymore. You will see when it starts caramelizing, then we can start to mix it again. But for now, you have to leave it on the frying pan as it is. While our almonds are on the frying pan, we can start preparing the rest of the cream. So first we're gonna start with our double cream and we're gonna whip it so we have whipped cream. When you are whipping your cream, it's very important to use a proper bowl or a vessel. It has to be rather taller than wider, then it's much easier to whip it. And you use your mixer and put the speed very high and whip your cream. When you mix it a little, you can add a special stabilizer which will make your cream stay longer. and whip it more till it's ready. You can see this cream is whipped very nice. You have to stop in the right moment, because if you keep doing it, you finally have a butter. But we don't need butter, we just need whipped cream. So this is ready for our cream. What the next step is we need to do, we need to prepare our figs and dates. Figs and dates. We're gonna cut them into smaller chunks. Almonds are still getting ready. Remember to not mix it or stir it. It has to stay like that. You can just move a pan a little bit. But it will take time. First, the sugar has to dissolve completely and the water has to start disappearing. But you will see this in a moment. It takes some time. So while this is getting ready, we can gonna cut our figs and dates into small chunks. I think the easier way is to use your scissors and just cut them into smaller pieces. And as I told you in the recipe, you can use about 10 figs and 10 dates. Of course, if you want, you can use more. It depends on how much you like them. Our figs and dates are ready. I'm gonna check the almonds now. As you see, the heat is quite big now, but we still don't mix it. We are waiting now for water to disappear. As you see, I have a very cute companion here who also came and checked our almonds. But the almonds are not ready yet. You can see that the color is changing. It's getting more and more golden, but we still need to wait. We can't mix it yet. We have to wait for caramel to start getting out of the sugar. As you see, the water is nearly disappeared, so you can lower the heat even more now. And let's wait for caramel. So when you see that they are turning golden, you can start mixing them. So the sugar coats all of them very nicely. You have to be patient with this process. It takes up to 6-7 minutes. As you can see, the water is disappeared now. The almonds are nicely coated with sugar. You can leave it longer on if you want to have them nice golden color, but they are already tasty. We will leave them for 1-2 minutes more. As you can see, they are ready. They smell amazing, you can smell caramel. But of course, before we add them to our cake, we need to cool them down. So I'm going to put them on a baking paper. Spread them a little bit. And leave them to rest, because they need to be cold before we add them to our cream. So now we can continue with our cream. We will need 500 grams of mascarpone cheese. Sometimes mascarpone on the top has a little bit of water. You can throw it away, but this one is nice and dry. We put it in our bowl. And the other ingredients we're going to use now, it's caramel. In Poland, you can buy already made caramel, but in some countries where you can't buy already made caramel, you can make this caramel by yourself. It's just enough that you buy a can of sweetened condensed milk, and you need to boil it for 2 hours in a pot in a slow water. Then after 2 hours cool it down, and instead of condensed milk, you will have a beautiful brown caramel cream. And this cream we're gonna mix with our mascarpone. And for this, use our mixer. This is why first I made the cream, so I don't have to wash the bitters, because you can't first make the mascarpone and the caramel and then use the same mixers to make your cream. So this is important, make your cream first and then mix your cheese with caramel. Mix till you have nice, smooth consistency. You have to mix it till you have nice, smooth texture. Then add the cream. And mix again, but now gently. So the cream is ready and it's already fantastic, but of course we're gonna add our figs, dates and our caramelized almonds. We're gonna add our figs and dates. And almonds. Make sure that they are full. together. You can hear a nice crunch from almonds. And this is ready cream for our caramel meringue. So now, this is the last part. We need to put everything together in our first plate of meringue. Okay. And you need to plate it on some surface. That's perfect. Now we're gonna put the cream. Try to spread it all nicely and even. Perfect, and now we need to cover it with second plate of meringue. Put it gently on the top, squeeze a little, and this is how the meringue looks together. Now for the final touch, mix a little bit of icing sugar with cocoa powder and spread nicely over the top. On the top you can put dates, or as me today, eatable flowers. To make it look like spring is already here. And this is our caramel meringue with fig, dates and sugar-coated almonds ready. I'm sure you're gonna enjoy it a lot. It's very, very delicious, very sweet, very fulfilling dessert. I'm sure everybody will love it and everybody will admire that you made meringue by yourself. And as you see, it's not so difficult as you might thought. Thank you very much for watching my video. I hope you enjoy it and see you again soon.